Hey folks, it's Roy here from Aurora Infotech, and today we're going to talk about passwords and password security. And you might say to yourself, well, why is this important? Well, let's dial it back for a second. Let's peel back the onion and get a better understanding. You see, we are creatures of habit, and we tend to take the path of least resistance on everything that we do in life. It's just our way of being. And when it comes to passwords, we have the ability to generate 1,000 passwords. I mean, if I was to put a piece of paper in front of you right now and said, hey, you have 15 minutes, generate 100 passwords, and they all must be different, you would have the ability to do that. If I took that paper away from you and then, came back a week later and gave you a blank piece of paper and said, please write back those passwords in the same order and everything that you did, 100 of them, you would not be able to do it. And so, we suffer from something called password exhaustion. And because of that, we tend to utilize the same passwords over and over and over. And while they may be somewhat different, the root of the password typically is the same. I give you an example. If you use the password Skippy because Skippy's your dog and you put 1996 because that's the year you got him, well, you may do that, and then you may say, well, for all work-related stuff, I'm going to use Skippy 1996 with a $sign behind it. And for personal, I'm just going to put an exclamation mark because I have to have a special symbol. Well, guess what? The root of that password is the same. And as a hacker, it would probably take about, I would say, a fraction of a second to use something called a brute force attacker program to actually crack that password. And you see, why is this important, folks? It's important because, when you have a key to your kingdom, which is basically your password, you want to make sure that those keys, that you have several keys to the different areas of your kingdom and not one key that opens everything up. For example, imagine if your key that opened up the front door to your home was the same key that opened up the back door to your home. There was the same key that opened up the safety deposit box that you have at the bank with all your jewelry. There's the same key that opens up and unlocks your credit cards and everything else. And you were to lose that one key. That one key is the key to your kingdom, and now whoever has it basically has your entire life in their hands. Now, when it comes to the online world, here things are a bit different, and this is where people don't typically understand. And when I'm actually out there doing either cybersecurity speaking engagements, or where I'm engaged by private companies to come in and train their staff on cybersecurity, one question that comes up all the time is, well, I don't really have anything the attackers would want, so why do I really need to worry about this? Well, let me break it down a little bit this way for you. You see, we have, and actually as a cybersecurity expert, I'm partially guilty for that, so mea culpa, but we utilize this image, and we've put an image in your head of this script kiddie, that a hacker is a script kiddie that's dressed, with a hoodie, and so this has somewhat, come about that most people think that that's exactly what a hacker is, and it's such the farthest thing from it. You see, in today's day and age, folks, hacking is a business. Hacking is an automated business that's run by computers. They don't have to necessarily be very sophisticated, but if you see that these hackers are getting payouts of $500,000-$600,000, you must think that they're probably making some good investments in the computer systems, and probably what they have as tools to come after you are far greater than we would have, because 2 hacks a day at 500,000, they're sitting pretty nice, probably in a luxury yacht someplace, right? So here's how this works. When your information gets compromised, whether it's through you or whether it's through some social site that you had membership to, or some online site, I should say, you had membership to, that information ends up in a place called the dark web, which is a place that there's no search engines or anything like that. You, as a hacker, it's almost like an invite-only type place, but basically it's a trading bazaar where they go and they buy those credentials. And typically a credential will sell anywhere from, depending on what it is, $7 to $20, $30 a pop. So imagine when they hit a company where there are several thousands or even hundreds of thousands of millions of contacts, it's a lucrative payday for them. But now they take this information, they load it into their ultra sophisticated hacking systems, which are fully automated and driven by something called artificial intelligence, which basically it can think and do all sorts of logic on its own to find the answers to complex issues. They load your information in, and if your information was, if your email address was Jane or John at doe.com, and you had a password on there, well, that password is now known to them. So what do? Their systems actually go out and they scour the internet and they try to find every place that you ever use that email address. Now, here's the thing: we can delete a lot of things, but one thing that's not deletable on the internet is basically your history, because there are sites out there that actually cache every page, every transaction, every tweet, everything that goes on is stored in these places. So all they have to do is really, scour the internet, and they can find every place you ever use that email address. And so what the system starts doing is building an online profile, or it builds your digital footprint on the web. And now, after they have that, and they have, a complete web and map of everything that you have out there, the next thing, of course, is let's go out and see how many of these sites we can actually get into with that password that we gain from the dark web. And so they start going in there, and the system does this automatically, automagically, as we could say. So they don't really have to do much work, and they start building an online profile. But here's the thing, right? And most websites that are out there today, and most social sites and membership sites, I should say, always ask you for a backup email address in the event that your email gets compromised or whatever. Once they have successfully gained access to your system, guess what? They get all that profile information, all the data that's on that website, whether it's your credit card information, whether it's your home address, your billing address, the whole 9 yards, they get that. Right? And so if you have one password that you're using across all your sites, including your work, your bank, everything, they've just gotten access to everything that you have. And that's why it's important, folks, to use a different password on every site. Now, I know that's a mundane task, and it's like, oh my God, how am I going to do that? Well, I'm going to share a secret with you, and something that I implemented a few years ago. And to be honest with you, I was in your shoes. I was shocked when I realized that I had used the same password in more than 300 sites, and that's the God's honest truth. Over 300 sites. Here's what I did. I downloaded a password manager. There are lots of them out there. I use one called Dashlane, Dashlane, dashlane.com. I have no affiliation with the company. There are free versions, there are paid versions. The pro version, I think it's like $3 or $4 a month, comes with much more features, including telling you if any of the passwords that you have stored in there are in the event of just recently suffered a compromise. Sorry. So when I loaded the password manager, one of the things that it did, it went into my browser and pulled all the passwords that I had stored in there. All the usernames, passwords. And by the way, folks, if a hacker wants to get into your kingdom and they get access to your computer, that file where those passwords are stored by the browser, that's payday. So it downloaded all these passwords, and one of the things it started telling me right away is, hey Roy, you use this particular email address and password combination on at least 300 sites. Would you like me to go out for you and log into these sites, auto-generate a unique, complex password, change the password on those sites, and save it in the password manager for you? And I said yes, and it went out and it did that. And that's one of the beautiful things about a password manager. So now on my app, I have an app on my phone, an app on my tablets, on my computers, no matter where I'm at, I have access to my passwords. And guess what? I only need to remember one password, which is the password to get into the password manager. Here's the second thing. That one password is the only password that you should actually generate on your own. And don't use a password, use a passphrase. You see, most people don't realize this, but a password field actually can hold up to 64 characters. So why limit yourself to just 8 on something that's going to be easily cracked in 3 seconds? You can actually generate an entire sentence. And remember, a phrase is multiple words, right? And a password is just a word. So do a sentence. Make a sentence that's unique to you. Sprinkle in some uppercase letters, lowercase letters, some numbers and special characters in there, and you'll be golden. For example, here's an example of a passphrase. Who would have ever thought there would be a car in space racing to Mars right now? I'm the only one that knows that. I'm the only one that thought of that. And you know what? I can factor in my little numbers and symbols in there, and that becomes the master password or passphrase for me to get into my password manager. Folks, I hope this has been some good tips for you, but please start taking a look at your passwords and do not reuse passwords. Have a unique password for every site. Certainly do not use the same password or any derivative thereof between your personal and your work accounts, and keep yourself safe. We'll be back soon with some more tips. Hope this was a helpful one for you. Check out our website at aurora-infotech.com. We have a cybersecurity tip of the week there, which will provide you more valuable tips. Have a good one.